Hello, everyone. Warmest welcomes to Holy Comforter Episcopal Church for our YouTube Bible study. I'm the Reverend Jimmy Abbott, and I'm so glad that you have joined us for this time of reflection on the gospel lessons for this upcoming Sunday, which is Palm Sunday, March 28th, 2021. Of course, on Palm Sunday, in the Episcopal liturgy for Palm Sunday, there are two gospel lessons. There's Mark chapter 11, verses 1 through 11, which is all about the triumphal entry into Jerusalem, with the people waving their palm branches, throwing their cloaks on the road as Jesus makes his way in on a colt. Now, just important to remember that palm branches in the ancient world represented victory. So imagine them waving trophies or Olympic gold medals. They're shouting victory to Jesus, victory to this new king. And of course, Jesus is a king. He's coming to conquer something, but he's not coming to conquer the Roman Empire. He's coming to conquer sin and death. Of course, there is another gospel lesson, the Passion Gospel, that's Mark chapter 14 and 15. And oftentimes in the Episcopal Church, we read that in parts. It's a dramatic reading of the gospel, which is memorable. I always, remember as a member of a congregation, the crowd shouting, crucify him, really one of the more haunting moments in the liturgical year. There are a couple things I want to say about that. And I'm putting up a screenshot of a Google map of the area of that part of the world. And you can really tell from this that Jerusalem is at the crossroads of the ancient world. If you wanted to move any people or goods from Africa to Asia to Europe through the Mediterranean, it all had to go through that area. And so imagine on a big pilgrimage day, a big feast day like Passover, there would have been tens of thousands of people from all over the ancient world coming into Jerusalem. And we get a few of those cast of characters throughout this gospel passage. But this helps us understand why Pontius Pilate does what he does. It's important to remember that ancient Egypt was the breadbasket for the Roman Empire. It's Nebraska of the ancient world, right? And that you have in this area, in Persia, the Parthian Empire. Of course, the buffer zone then between Persia and Rome's natural resources is Jerusalem. So you can see why Pontius Pilate is especially concerned about making sure that there's not a ruckus. He wants to make sure that this area is under occupation for Rome so that Rome's natural resources, Egyptian wheat, is not under threat. So hopefully that provides a little bit of a 30,000 foot view as to what's going on and why there's such commotion in Jerusalem and why Pontius Pilate does what he does. The second thing I want to say about the Passion Gospel, if that was the big view, now let's go to the little view. Remember, the Gospel of Mark has an economy of words. Mark is very brief. And so when Mark does give details, I think those details are very important. So when you go and read this on your own, or when you're in church listening this weekend, listen for a few of those little details. You know, we hear about Simon of Cyrene, who's come in and is compelled to carry the cross of Jesus. And it says that is the father of Alexander and Rufus. Who are Alexander and Rufus? Well, clearly they're people important to the early Christian community, probably would have been known to the author of the Gospel of Mark. So that's a little hint then that, these are real people, real communities that we're dealing with. Another one is the young man. When Jesus is being arrested in the garden, right, he runs away naked. Like, what's that all about? Not really quite sure. I don't know if anyone really knows. There are plenty of theories, but it's this little this little moment where we see some intimacy, some details in the Gospel of Mark. And finally, look at the last paragraph where it says Joseph of Arimathea goes boldly to Pilate. And, Mark's not going to use the word bold if he doesn't really mean bold. And consider that, right? Joseph of Arimathea is going to the Roman governor and saying, hey, that guy you just executed for being a terrorist, the guy you just executed for being an insurgent, maybe someone who else is claiming to be king instead of Caesar, I want that guy's body. You can imagine that takes some real guts on behalf of Joseph to go to Pilate like that. So again, as you're just reading the Palm Sunday lessons this weekend, be thinking both about the 30,000 foot view and also the very intimate view as to what's going on. I'd love to hear from you. Please send me an email or leave a comment here in the comments. And I'm going to be praying for each of you on this Passion Tide, that as you prepare to walk the way of Holy Week, you may find that the way of the cross is the way of life. Thank you.